Welcome to Magical Storybook English Nanny Bedtime Stories, a collection of ancient fairy tales and folklore from around the world. Adapted and read by Rehannah Mian. Today's story is a tale from England. Cap of Rushes. There was once a very rich gentleman who had 3 daughters. He often wondered to himself how fond they were of him. So one day he asked his eldest daughter, "How much do you love me, my dear?" "Why, father," she replied, "I love you as much as I love my life." The gentleman was very happy with that answer, so he turned to his second daughter and asked, "How much do you love me, my dear?" "Why, father," she replied, "I love you better than all the world." By now he was smiling widely. And then he asked the same question to his third daughter. "And how much do you love me, my dear?" "Why, father," she replied, "I love you as much as fresh meat loves salt." The man's smile dropped. "What kind of an answer is that?" he spat, furious. "Do you not love me at all? Well then, you can go and make your own way in the world. You are no longer welcome here." And before she could say another word, the man drove her out of the house and slammed the door in her face. The girl walked for miles, not knowing where to go, until she eventually came to a fen. There she gathered a pile of rushes and made them into a long hooded cloak to hide her fine clothes. And then she walked on until she came across a large grand house. She walked up the path and knocked on the door. When the housekeeper opened the door, the girl asked whether they needed a maid, and when she said that they didn't, the girl begged her, "Please, I have nowhere to go. I promise that I'll work hard and that I won't ask for any wages." "Well," said the housekeeper, "if you will wash the pots and scrape the saucepans, you may stay." The girl agreed, and so she was taken on to do all of the filthy kitchen work. When they asked her name, she said nothing, and so, because of what she was wearing, the rest of the servants nicknamed her Cap of Rushes. One day there was great excitement in the house, as it was announced that there was to be a great ball nearby, and all of the servants had been given permission to go and to look upon all the grand people attending. When the night came, the servants said, "Cap of Rushes, aren't you ready?" But Cap of Rushes told them that she was too tired to go to the ball and that she would stay at home. So the servants left without her. But when they were out of sight, Cap of Rushes ran to her room. She took off her hooded cloak, combed her hair, and straightened out her fine dress. And then, checking that no one was looking, she went to the ball. As soon as she walked in, all eyes fell on her, for no one in the room looked as grand as she did. Well, who should be there but her master's son? He fell for Cap of Rushes the minute he set eyes on her and asked whether she would dance with him all night. Cap of Rushes agreed, and they had a wonderful evening together. But before the dance was over, Cap of Rushes snuck out and went home. Then she put on her hooded cloak, covering her dress and hair, and went to sleep. The next morning the maid said to her, "Oh, you did miss a wonderful sight last night." Cap of Rushes pretended to know nothing. "What was it?" she asked excitedly. "Why, there was the most grand, beautiful lady there that you ever saw. The young master never took his eyes off her. I should like to have seen her," said Cap of Rushes, smiling. "Well, there's to be another dance this evening," they said. "Perhaps she'll be there." That evening, just as before, Cap of Rushes said that she was too tired to go with them. But as soon as they had left, she took off her cloak, bathed, and went to the ball. The master's son had been waiting to see whether she would attend, and after they greeted each other, they danced with only each other all night. But before the dance was over, once more she slipped away and went home. When the maids returned later that night, they found Cap of Rushes asleep in her long cloak. The next morning at breakfast, the maids spoke of nothing but the grand, beautiful lady, and then they announced that there was to be a third dance that evening. And so, as the sun set and the servants prepared for the ball, Cap of Rushes made her excuses about being tired, sat down by the fire, and watched them leave. But later on, just as she had done for the past 2 nights, she quietly got dressed and followed behind. While they were dancing, the master's son asked Cap of Rushes what her name was and where she was from, but she would not tell him. And so he gave her a ring and told her that if he didn't see her again, he would surely die. Well, before the dance was over, off she snuck, and home she went. The next day the maid said to her, "Cap of Rushes, you missed all the excitement, and now it's too late, for there will be no more dancers." Meanwhile, the master's son tried his hardest to find out who the lady was, totally unaware that she was working in his kitchen below. But wherever he went, he could find no one that knew her. Eventually, completely heartbroken, he took to his bed. "Oh, make some gruel for the young master," his mother begged the cook, "for he is dying for the love of the lady." The cook curtsied and was about to start cooking when Cap of Rushes came in. "What are you making?" she asked. "I'm making some gruel for the young master," said the cook, "for he's dying for the love of that lady." "Oh, please let me make it," said Cap of Rushes. Well, at first the cook looked at her, confused, and refused to let a servant girl cook for the family. But at last she took pity on the girl and agreed. Cap of Rushes made the gruel, but before she dished it up, she placed the ring into the bowl and covered it over, and then the cook took it upstairs. The young master ate the gruel, and as he took his last mouthful, he was surprised to see the ring lying at the bottom of the bowl. "Send for the cook," he cried. When the cook arrived, he said, "Who made this gruel?" "I did," said the cook, too frightened to admit that she had allowed someone else to cook for him. But he did not believe her. "Say who did it, please. You shall not be harmed." "Well then, it was Cap of Rushes," she admitted. So Cap of Rushes was sent for, and the master's son asked her where she got the ring. "I got it from you," she said. "You gave it to me." Then she took off her cap of rushes and stood before him in her beautiful clothes. Well, the master's son was overjoyed to see her, and from then on, Cap of Rushes lived upstairs in the house, no longer a servant, and eventually he asked for her hand in marriage. But that is not the end of the story. A grand wedding was planned, with guests invited from near and far. Cap of Rushes' father was also invited, and he accepted, although he did not know who the bride was. While they were planning the wedding feast, Cap of Rushes went to the cook and said, "I want you to make every dish without even a single grain of salt." "But that will make the food taste horrible," exclaimed the cook. But Cap of Rushes insisted, and so the annoyed cook finally agreed. After the wedding, all of the guests sat down to the feast to celebrate. But when they began eating, they found that the food was so tasteless that everybody pushed their plates away in disgust. Only Cap of Rush's father continued eating. He tried a small sample of each dish, and when he tried a forkful of fresh meat, he burst out crying. "Whatever is the matter?" asked the young master. "Oh," said the man, "I've been so foolish. I once had a daughter, and I asked her how much she loved me, and she answered that she loved me as much as fresh meat loves salt. And I turned her from my door, for I thought that she did not love me at all. But now I understand that she loved me best of all. I would give anything to see her again." Cap of Rushes, who had been sitting at the end of the room, ran over to him. "I'm here, father," and she threw her arms around him. The man was thrilled to see his daughter, and he begged for her forgiveness, saying how sorry he was to have behaved so badly. Cap of Rushes forgave him, and a new feast, one that had been cooked with salt this time, was brought out for the guests to enjoy.